Imagine that you're driving home one night, you have music blasting, maybe a little too loud, and then you see some flashing lights in your mirror, but instead of pulling over immediately, you kind of pull into your home that's just a couple seconds away, you pull into your garage, and you decide to close your garage door. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, the police officer decides to enter into your garage and come into your home. The question is that legal? Well, in a 9-0 unanimous ruling by the Supreme Court, they found that the law enforcement officers and those actions did violate the Fourth Amendment. So let's break down what happened in this critical case. Now, before we jump into this video, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Attorneys on Retainer. When it comes to protecting yourself after a self-defense incident, AOR isn't a league of their own. AOR is backed by an actual law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom, and they will help you in self-defense incidents that maybe other companies would not. For example, they can help people in states like New York and other restrictive states, and they've won cases for their clients in those states. And one of the really cool things about AOR is right now they've expanded their benefits, so you can get, added benefits, no extra cost to you this year if you sign up. If you want to get what, in my opinion, is the best coverage on the market, check them out using the links down below in the details section and also in the pinned comment. And if you sign up using my code ARMEDSCHOLAR, you can get $50 off of your individual plan or $25 off of a family plan. As I mentioned in the intro, in this video, we're going to be discussing a 9-0 unanimous decision issued by the Supreme Court, which involves your rights to prevent law enforcement officers from entering your home without a warrant. The Supreme Court decision that we're talking about in this came in a case called Lang versus California, and it's important because it rejected the idea that police officers can automatically enter your home without a warrant whenever they're in hot pursuit. Instead, the court here required a case-by-case analysis, emphasizing that the home is at the core of the Fourth Amendment, it has special protections, and your home is your castle and should be treated different. For gun owners, this ruling is highly relevant today because many firearms-related offenses, such as technical violations of potential storage, transportation, magazine laws, and others, are classified as actual misdemeanors in those states. And, they have those types of restrictive regulations that potentially could open the door to law enforcement getting into your home without a warrant. This case strengthens your privacy rights and ensures that the Fourth Amendment protections that you have within your home are actually strong and don't get eroded by these types of actions. Now, in this case, the individual Arthur Lang was driving home. He lived in Sonoma, California, and this happened back in 2016. He was playing music loudly, and I believe he was also honking his horn for no apparent reason. Maybe he was getting too excited because of the music. I don't know. But this behavior drew the attention of a California Highway Patrol officer. The officer decided to follow Lang, so he did not immediately stop him. He didn't flash his lights immediately. Instead, he followed him for a while. And by the time that Lang was actually pulling into his driveway, the officer had decided to turn on his lights and signal for him to stop. But again, he was already in his driveway pulling into his garage. And once he got into the garage, he decided to close the garage door. The officer quickly decided to get out of his vehicle and went into the garage, stuck his foot under the sensor, stopped the garage door from closing, and entered into the garage. Once he was in there, the officer questioned Lang. He believed that he smelled alcohol and eventually charged him with driving, under the influence. Now, here's the problem. The police officer did not have a warrant to enter into Lang's home. And under the Fourth Amendment, your home is where privacy rights are at their strongest. So the legal issue in this case boiled down to this issue. Does the pursuit of someone suspected of committing a misdemeanor automatically justify a warrantless entry into your home? The lower court on review actually said yes. They ruled in favor of the law enforcement officer. They relied on what is known as the hot pursuit doctrine. The doctrine allows police officers to follow a fleeing suspect into a private place, like a home, without first getting a warrant. However, historically, that doctrine was applied only to felonies, not every kind of minor violation like playing music too loud in your car. The California courts on review ruled against Mr. Lang, saying that because he did not stop immediately and drove into his garage, the police officer was in hot pursuit and therefore could enter into the home without a warrant. Mr. Lang appealed that ruling, and he argued that this rule gave police too much power. And he said that if any misdemeanor, no matter how small, justified coming into your home, then the Fourth Amendment's protections really, within the home was almost meaningless. This issue eventually made its way to the Supreme Court back in 2021, and in a 9-0 unanimous decision issued by the Supreme Court, they ruled in favor of Mr. Lang. The court answered this question, and it was a very clear answer. They said that there is no automatic rule that hot pursuit of a misdemeanor always allows the warrantless entry into the home. Instead, they said courts must look at the totality of the circumstances. Sometimes, exigent circumstances like an emergency or a threat to public safety or the risk of maybe evidence being destroyed will actually justify entering the home without a warrant. But the mere fact that someone committed a misdemeanor does not automatically give the police the power to enter the home. It should be looked at on a case-by-case basis based on the totality of the circumstances. The court was unanimous in rejecting California's broad rule here, although there were some concurrences where they reached the same conclusion but kind of came to it by a different approach. However, it was still 9-0 in favor of Mr. Lang. Now, the key takeaway of this is that the court struck down the whole blanket exception that was applied here in this case and reaffirmed that the home is entitled to special Fourth Amendment protections because it's your castle, it's your home, and it should be treated different. Now, why is this Lang case still important, especially for gun owners today and anyone concerned about these type of constitutional rights? Well, the court reminded us that the home is treated different under the Fourth Amendment. Whether you own firearms or not, this ruling reinforces the idea that the government can't just walk into your home because of minor violations or beliefs that maybe you committed a misdemeanor. Without this ruling, police could have claimed a free pass to enter anyone's home whenever essentially someone is maybe suspected of committing a misdemeanor. And remember, most crimes within the United States are actually classified as misdemeanors. That includes things like noise violations, traffic infractions, or minor licensing offenses. And when it comes to the gun context, a lot of the laws that are written in restrictive states like California, they are actually classified first as misdemeanors. This Lang ruling ensures that these types of law enforcement officers can't use this type of automatic excuse to enter your home and then potentially also search your home and potentially also confiscate your firearms. This ruling also lines up with other cases that we've talked about in the past, like the Kniggley versus Strom case, which also rejected the whole broad community caretaking entries into the home without a warrant. Together, these create a very clear pattern where the court is unwilling to water down the Fourth Amendment when it comes to your private dwellings and when it comes to your home. This precedent also bodes very well for the upcoming Fourth Amendment case that we've talked about, which is the Case versus Montana challenge, which also deals with the warrantless entry into the home. The Supreme Court is currently set to hear oral arguments in that challenge in October, and that ruling could further solidify these types of Fourth Amendment protections within your home. So the Lang versus California case may not have gotten as much attention and coverage as it should have, and it's maybe didn't get as much attention as some of the blockbuster Second Amendment rulings, but it's very significant and it's important for all gun owners to actually know about. It closed the door on a dangerous expansion of government power and reaffirmed one of our bedrock principles when it comes to the American law and what our founders believed. That is essentially that your home is your castle and you should be safe from governmental intrusions into your castle. So for gun owners, this unanimous decision is still very relevant today and could also come into play during that Supreme Court's upcoming review of the Case versus Montana challenge, which seeks to expand upon Kniggley versus Strom in that 9-0 decision, and these prior cases like this one, Lang, which came before it, which said that no, the government and law enforcement cannot enter your home without a warrant under these types of exceptions. So this is a great case. I wanted to make you guys aware of it. It's a great ruling that everyone should know about, especially gun owners. So if you have any questions, go ahead and comment down below, and I will try to answer to the best of my ability. If you like this video and you would like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to simply subscribe to the channel. Also, you can check out my website, armscholar.com. Over there, we have a lot for you guys, channel merch, deals, coupons, all of that. And you can also check out my free legal guide that I have available for you. I'll leave that link down below as well. All you have to do is put in your email and we send you over a free PDF. We do some follow-up emails of educational information and then some daily deals as well to save you some money. But as always, thank you guys so much for all of your support. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.